All right. Do we have our streaming thing going?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, we're going to resume our budget hearings, and County Counselor, you're up.
Thank you, Commissioner. Jim Crowell, Shawnee County Counselor. I also have Tabitha Push, who's the Office Administrator for the County Counselor's Office, with me this morning. She helped me prepare the budget and helped me with this presentation today. Of course, you know this, but I'm going to breeze through some of these things, but obviously if there's anything you want me to expand upon, I would be happy to. First, I'll just briefly talk about the County Counselor's Office, what it does, what's its purpose, and what are our duties. Our main purpose is we are the civil attorney and legal counsel for Shawnee County, Kansas. I usually explain that in larger counties in Kansas, like Shawnee County, typically there's a district attorney that files all criminal actions, and there's a county counselor who handles all civil matters. We're responsible for the representation of Shawnee County, the Board of County Commissioners, and all of the departments, divisions, regulatory boards, and advisory boards of county government in all legal matters relating to those official responsibilities. We are responsible for representing Shawnee County in all civil litigation in which the county is a party, and that's either as a plaintiff or a defendant. And we represent Shawnee County generally in matters of civil litigation. We review all resolutions, we review all contracts, and other written instruments that are important to the county. We also work directly with Steve Bauman in the Shawnee County Appraiser's Office. One important caveat: we do not provide legal advice or legal services to the general public, and I do have to unfortunately explain that to people once in a while, and I do try to steer them in a direction that can get them help if they do need legal advice. Our goals and main objectives are to provide high-quality, timely, and cost-effective legal services to the Board of County Commissioners and all Shawnee County departments, and to minimize Shawnee County's exposure to legal liability and risks of litigation. We try to support open lines of communication with the Board of County Commissioners and all department heads and all personnel within the county. We prepare, negotiate, and/or review all resolutions, all contracts, all memorandums of understanding, whatever name that's put on them. And we also participate in many of the different boards, advisory boards, planning commissions, and other pieces of county government. We also work each year to maximize collection of delinquent real estate taxes owed to Shawnee County through the routine commencement of judicial tax foreclosure actions in the district court. And I always like to explain that is one thing that is a statutory obligation of the Shawnee County Counselor. The Shawnee County Counselor can actually be removed for failing to prosecute tax foreclosure actions. You've met all of the attorneys in my office, particularly over the last month, with me being absent. I counted it up today. Between the four of us, we have 50 years of experience working for Shawnee County, specifically for Shawnee County. I'm very proud of the attorneys in my office. They do a fantastic job. We work to try to be responsive to all county departments, department heads, employees, and to get back the questions that they have as quickly as possible. We want to help solve problems. We want to be the place where people come to try to fix things and to really solve problems. And I think we have a really good team of broad-based general experience in not only civil litigation. All of my attorneys have experience in civil litigation, but also litigation through BODA. And then all of the different areas, when you represent an entity that's the size of Shawnee County, you have to become familiar in real estate issues and governmental law and contracts and human resources. And we do have a really broad base of experience in my office that I'm very proud of. Administrative staff, you've met Tabitha. Also, we have Jennifer Alberg, who joined our staff last year. They both do a fantastic job. Tabitha takes the lead on the tax foreclosure sales. Jennifer works, she's focused on a few other items, but they both work together and work on similar issues. Let's get to my budget request. Basically, there are two components to the counselor's budget: the counselor's office budget itself, and then a separate, smaller budget for the tax sale process. The total budget for 2020 was $674,000. The budget request this year is $703,581. So the overall requested increase is $28,817, and I'll go through the different pieces for the increases. And if you have any questions about any pieces of this, $11,000 of that increase comes from routine step increases for the employees in the office. I did use an increase, a wage increase proposal for the slot that I have in my budget for an intermittent employee. We haven't hired any intermittent employees for the last couple of years, but looking at the wage that would be offered if we were to do that, and that's typically a law student, we're probably going to have to increase that if we're actually going to hire someone to be able to attract a law school student that would be interested. I don't have any current plans to hire someone at this point, but that's always an option depending on projects or circumstances that arise. So contractual services, an increase of $156 for memberships and dues increases that are just expected increases. The bulk of this request, and really the largest part of the increase we've requested for our budget, is $15,000 for a proposed contract with an outside company for updating and maintaining the county code. And I did have Tabitha reach out and get some informal bids on what it would take to make sure it would fit within the $15,000. And I'm going to go through, I've got a few slides here in a few minutes, and I'll go through what the different options are that we think we could obtain with that $15,000, but it would be sufficient to accomplish what we'd like to get done with that. And then for supplies, we don't have any requested increases for supplies. Our current budget section for that is certainly adequate. Let's talk about the county code. That's been a project that we've spoken about for several years now. The code's in need of being updated in a couple of different ways. It needs a substantive update in that it's been 12 years since it's been issued, so it needs a good update to go back through all of the sections to make sure they're still relevant, to make sure that all relevant resolutions have made it into the code. So it needs a substantive update. Probably just as important, though, is what we can get if we contract this process out is a company that will both work on our code and redo it, but also create a website for hosting the code that would be a lot better than what we have now. Right now, we just have a link on our website to a PDF file, and you kind of need to know what you're searching for to find anything in the code. This would have advanced searching capability. It would be mobile or tablet friendly and have the different features. Plus, it would be updated as soon as we would send new resolutions to them to continually update it. So different prices, and I'll jump to the next page. If we had someone do a complete legal review, we'd hand them our existing code and then give them access to all of our resolutions. That was an estimated cost of doing a complete rework and updating to what would be a new 2020 Shawnee County Code. I'm going to go back. Once you do that, so the alternative to that is for approximately $1,000, they would take our existing code that we have and just simply convert it into their web type format. And then we could choose the option to pay them an annual fee to get the feature for the updating feature on that. And there's additional features. Whenever you look at contracting out work versus doing it in-house, you have to assess, what's it going to cost either way. I think having the IT piece of this along with the substantive work on the code makes it very cost effective to get all of these features for $15,000. Any questions about that or any of the pieces of that? If you approve this, we would do a full RFP process on that, and we would talk about the features that we would want and get options for the different features. Moving on, projects in the county counselor's office for 2020 and beyond. The office works with JADO and the Greater Topeka Partnership on economic development projects. Happily, those projects are still occurring, so we're still working on those. One of the things that I really enjoy working on is overseeing the renovation of the Stormontvale Event Center and its related facilities. I attend a weekly progress meeting with that and spend a lot of time with that, but it's been very rewarding working on that project over with Betty and others over the last 5 years, from the planning all the way now to construction, and now we can see the end of that project coming. I think everybody's going to be really happy with the outcome of those renovations. We don't do a lot of testimony, but we typically go over and provide testimony on some legislation each year before the Kansas legislature. We also work with the Kansas Association of Counties quite often on legal issues that affect both Shawnee County and counties in general. We provide legal guidance to the Planning Commission. We work with Human Resources frequently, both with regard to our labor unions, our collective bargaining process, and our impasse resolution process, along with disciplinary grievances. We also work with them and our third-party administrator for our workers' compensation program. I work with our third-party administrator to oversee our pending claims with regard to that. We've discussed the county code. The last one is new this year, which is provide timely legal advice to county officials and employees who are responsible for responding to the outbreak of the novel coronavirus. We have 50 years of experience and 0 years of experience for dealing with something like that. So it's been quite an effort digging into those statutes regarding the health officer, the authority of the health officer, versus the state, the governor, and the different issues that we've had. So we've really jumped into an area of the law that is new to us and new to everybody. So that's been quite a bit of our work this year so far, and unfortunately will probably continue for the foreseeable future. Some statistics. This would include all of 2019 and 2020 year-to-date. 12105B claims. 12105B claims are claims filed by individuals or businesses who claim that the county damaged their personal or property rights in some way. It's a state law process that requires them to provide notice of the county before they can file a lawsuit against us. We review all claims that are filed and make recommendations regarding settlement or whether we deny those claims. We had 10 in 2019 and only 4 so far for 2020 year-to-date. Home rule cases, we do prosecute a limited number of home rule cases each year. Those are aggressive dog cases, bite cases, leash law cases, and a few other minor matters. It's really similar to a municipal court or a code court, code enforcement. We had 14 in 2019 and 18 so far already in 2020. Unemployment claims, we process all unemployment claims that come through just with regard to Shawnee County employees, and I thought I would include that just to show you the increase in the number that we had, and I think we did a better job than most places in retaining our employees, but even we had a large uptick in unemployment claims this year. And then we also defend EEOC and Kansas Human Rights complaint claims. Those are claims typically alleging claims of discrimination in employment. We had 2 last year. We haven't had any yet this year. I'm proud of the systems that we've set up over the years. We don't typically have many of these. We haven't had one that came back with a finding of probable cause for over 10 years. I mean, we don't have it. We have good systems in place. We've got good management, and we take a proactive stance when it comes to those issues, and it reflects in the numbers, in the lack of claims that we actually have and have to defend. More statistics. This just gives you the number of resolutions we adopted or drafted or reviewed, contracts reviewed, Board of Tax Appeal cases, mortgage foreclosure cases that we're named in every single mortgage foreclosure. Those numbers are down because of the moratorium that was put in place in the courts and the Board of Tax Appeals. Those numbers will jump up then and you know, will exceed a normal amount once business gets back to usual, to catch up. Civil litigation, since the beginning of 2019, we've defended 22 new lawsuits. 10 of those cases have already been dismissed by the court, either through summary judgment or by stipulation of the parties. We did settle one case for a total of $15,000, and we have 11 cases still pending, either in the U.S. District Court 5, Shawnee County District Court 4, in Kansas Court of Appeals 2, and that's probably down a little bit also at this point due to the closure of the courts earlier this year, and we'll probably pick back up again. We currently have one matter that's being handled by outside counsel, and that's it, and that's typically the case. We typically handle most issues in-house. The final slide deals with our budget request related to tax sales, and that's how those numbers break down. It's just built into the budget to help pay for Tabitha and Jennifer's positions. A portion of their salaries are paid out of the fees that we obtain when we file those cases. kind of buzzed right through that. Any questions about any piece of it, or?
When was the last time the codes were, all that was cleaned up?
We continually update it, but the last time it had a full run-through was, I believe, 2008.
Okay.
And you would use that from the small capital outlay projects, is that what you're thinking?
No, he's asking for it in his budget.
Okay.
Budget for, it would be that amount for next year to, if you want to do the full rework of it, which is what I recommend. And then we would have a piece in the budget going forward to pay for the ongoing maintenance of it from that point forward, which would drop quite a bit. You would only need to move up to that level every 10 years or so when you wanted to fully rework it again.
So it's $1,000 for the review,
Correct,
$500 for the hosting, and that's an ongoing expense that's going to last
correct,
indefinitely.
correct.
Have you talked to Pat about that at all to find out if there's anything they can do in-house?
Oh, I'm sure he can do it in-house. He's going to tell me the same thing that I've heard. I said it on meetings with a lot of people. We keep our programmers busy.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of projects in the pipeline already through the different offices. So I think being able to farm that out outside to a product that's already suited for that, and not doing that piece plus the substantive review piece probably makes it fairly cost-effective.
So with the $1,000 review, that just kind of organizes it and gets it.
Right, that's basically taking what we have and putting it into their online format.
Okay.
And then
that
we
doesn't
would work-
necessarily make it searchable and everything like that.
Well, it would make it searchable. It would go into their online format, and we would be updating it from that point on.
The county code is online already, and it is searchable by, your Control F.
Yeah.
But it's not in a very user-friendly format.
Right, it's a PDF file that's
Yeah.
linked, and there's a way you can right-click in a certain spot and pull up a dialog box and then type in a search term, and it'll take you, but it's not, this will have, if we did it through that product allows several different ways to search in addition to just a term, and it also links itself to the source documents. So they will upload the actual, you'll have the code section, but you'd be able to click on it at the bottom, which shows you the source of the code, and go back and look at the actual resolution, which would be a nice feature to have.
It almost sounds like something that would integrate with our agenda management software that we're implementing like right now.
Perhaps, we could certainly look into that.
But the $13,000 one's the more essential one of the bunch, because our code is really, it needs to be refreshed. I mean, there's sections that don't need to be there anymore, there's sections that need to be reworked, we need to relook at some of the fines, and, I mean, they were there for a purpose when they were created. We don't see a lot of regulations of massage parlors anymore.
Right. It needs refreshed and overhauled.
And haunted houses, regulation of haunted houses too.
It's important.
We have those on the books?
Yes, we have regulations of haunted houses.
What do you regulate with a haunted house?
They're not allowed.
Of course. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions. I guess,
Betty, you had a,
Well, I was just gonna say, now with the $1,000 and the $400 a year, I think you said any updates are $20 a page?
Yeah,
So
so,
is that, if you have a 3-page resolution, that means that's $60 just for that one. And when you look about how many resolutions we have throughout a year,
we think about 10% of them would probably end up in the code.
okay,
Not every, we have, the
Yeah.
code only consists of a finite number of items. So,
And I did an estimate from last year, we had 105 resolutions. 10% of those, an estimated 2 pages apiece would be $420. So it'd probably be
Okay, so that's not significant.
about another 500 a year.
Not a significant amount.
and we won't know for sure until we get into it, but that's our best estimate. Not everything, we have routine resolutions to change speed limits and put up a sign, and none of those are going to go into the code.
Most of our lawsuits that we have come in, they come from corrections or?
A big majority of them come from the DOC. We do get random ones from different types of operations. I mean, we've had everything from injuries through parks and recreation facilities. We've had employee-related claims. We don't have much of those, I think, because our HR department and our department heads do a great job in managing personnel issues so that we don't get to that point.
What about issues like with solid waste? Do those go through your office as well, or?
Which type of issues?
Like, well, I don't know, if you had an issue with solid waste where they're kind of with us, they aren't, the way their fees are structured.
Well, yeah, I mean, we would, if, even though they are an enterprise fund, that is a county department, and those are county employees. So if there was any claim or litigation that came out of those activities, yes, we would be responsible for that. For example, we've got an issue right now we're involved in with one of our trucks that caught on fire. And there's a work comp component to that, and there's for an employee that was injured during that, and there's also a product liability case pending with the manufacturer related to that, and we've intervened in that to protect our interests in money we've paid out through the work comp.
And Commissioner, that's part of why they pay us indirect costs, so that it covers those kind of costs.
Okay.
As well as IT and all the other.
Everything else that supports them.
There certainly are departments that we work with more often than others, and, it's hard to characterize that. Right now, I spend a lot of time with the election office because we're getting ready to have an election. I spend a lot of time with the health department because we were dealing with a lot of public health issues, but, that's now. That wasn't last year, and next year will be different.
Question about tax sales.
Yes.
You had 30-some odd $1,000 in revenue, and that's like a service fee? Is it just a flat rate per parcel, or,
Correct. It's a fee that we charge on each parcel through court costs and administrative costs for administering the sale that we're allowed to, under state law, to recapture some of our costs for doing it.
has that been affected by COVID at all, tax sales? It seems
Well-
like it's kind of an in-person deal.
We basically filed the case right before everything happened earlier this year, and we did hold serving any summons on that case until the courts opened back up, and now we're starting to serve the summons on those cases. But the track that'll be on, we probably won't have a sale until late this year, early next year, based upon the timing that it takes. We'll have typically approximately 150 properties in each tax sale. There might be 800 different distinct entities or individuals to serve that might have a potential interest. And that's part of a lot of the legwork involved in that is working with a title review company to try to identify all parties that might have an interest that we would need to serve. Because if we file and we omit someone that should have been served, then that kicks it out of of the case, and it's an improper, it would be improper at that point.
Are the fees that you charge enough to cover your expenses on that?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Nope.
Well, Counselor Tabitha, thank you.
Thank you.
Jump right into CRC.
CRC?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
I love that